Well, let's see what we got going on here. Alright, now I got a little work shed, but I decided to move my little table and my little buffing wheel outside. Now that little crystal thing you see sitting right there, that is a alligator tooth. That is a replica of the actual tooth that came out of an actual alligator. I had the picture here in a little bit from where I found them. We were out hiking one day and back on some private property, and I jumped the ditch, and lo and behold, I found a dead gator. So he's still in his resting spot. He gets to decay away peacefully, but I did manage to make some molds of his teeth so that way he could rest in peace but not be forgotten. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a compound base. So I've already done a rough sand of the whole tooth. They are poured resin. I do a rough sand of the whole thing to get down the edges, because when I make the molds, I make it of the tooth in its natural condition, which means there's a lot of little nicks and gouges and breaks, because they're not very pleasant with their food when they're chopping down on stuff. So what I do is, for what I'm going to use this one for, is I take all those imperfections out. So I slice them off with a razor knife. I use a heavy grit sandpaper and knock down all the areas, and so they're nice and smooth. And then I come back with wet sanding paper, a little bit more aggressive paper, and then I work my way down to, traditionally I'll get down to around 400 grit, so 600 grit. So I actually think I used 800 on the one that I'm buffing here. The first one I did was just test play around, just to get the set right, see how it was going to look, and I was happy with it. I mean, I've got some more prep work to do on it. You can see me move it out of the way. The second one I did there is obviously a little different, because I added some blue. So I used some blue resin in with clear, see what kind of effect I get. I'm currently working on a third now, plus I'm making molds of some other teeth, so that I can do several at once. And this process here, so I only currently have one mold of this particular tooth here. I'm currently making more molds. I'm going to make another mold of the smoothed version of this, so that way I have a mold of the natural tooth in its natural condition, and then we have this smoother one, which is the ones I'm working on here. These are actually going to get turned into keychains. So I just always wanted one. I've got a couple gator claws, because I took a mold of the claw that was on its foot, and it's easy enough. You just stick the little claw in there and you let it set it, and only I mean, I didn't have to disturb him. I didn't have to like pick up the whole body and bring it home or anything weird like that. So you just lift it up, drop it into the mold, and then I go out photographing and stuff and give it a couple hours to set. I come back, pull it out there, he gets the rest in peace, and I get me a little alligator claw for my necklace I'm making. Plus I can make them crystal, I can make them color. I've got natural casting material so it looks like bone, and I can reproduce them 10 ways till Sunday. Now you'll notice the blue stuff I got in the back, I've moved to a more, this is a more polishing compound. I will actually go through this whole process, and then I'll come down with 1000 grit and do a fine sand, and then I'll come back one more time with that buffing compound there, the blue stuff, and really shine it up. And then of course, once I make some more molds here, I'll be able to do 6 or 7 of these things at a time, and it won't be a big deal. So, but I always wanted, for years, I mean, I love photographing alligators, and I've been photographing them for years. And then I have some friends that are part of the Wildlife Administration, and they taught me a lot over the years on what to look for, how to act, how to behave around them, and their habits and stuff, and then what I learned in college. They're amazing creatures, by far my favorite animal. And the reason I wear the gloves is so I'm not applying a lot of pressure to the wheel. So I wear the glove so that way every now and then you'll see me cup the wheel with my hand. That way it doesn't, I mean, it's traditionally not going to hurt your skin anyways, but with this particular type of glove, the reason I only use this glove for what I'm doing here because it has this plastic coating on it, and I could smear the compound onto my fingers. So when I put my hand on the wheel, it's grabbing some of the compound and moving it into the wheel, which comes back around. If you've ever buffed a car, then it's pretty much the same process. I try to make a even swap stroke. I just put just enough on there, and then as I'm buffing it, once I see it, you'll see it smear. And then once it smears, you let it go just a little bit longer, and you'll start to see the stuff shine. But if you go too far, you're gonna burn it, and it's gonna leave marks. And I did that to the clear one. You sand it, and you're fine. It's not like a car where you burn it and you're screwed. You gotta repaint it. Just coat it, buff it. You'll see it smear around where you're working. Then once it dries up, put a little bit more on it, do it again, put a little bit more on it, do it again. And that's the best way to do it and avoid any kind of burn mark or anything like that. Again, if you do burn it, don't sweat it. You can just use your 1000 grit or even 800 grit and just nib it and then knock it out and buff it out again. You can see me cupping my finger on the wheel there. So. Now some people like to rotate forward, the wheel spinning the other way. I don't, because every now and then it does slip out of your hands. It did that to me early in the video. I'd rather have it shoot away from me than shoot up in my face. So that's why I like this portable wheel. But there's a blue guy. And I saw a little scuff there, so I have to buff it out. There's the blue guy. And then I'll wash them and all that little kind of blemish stuff. So there's my first two. There's my crystal and my blue. Appreciate y'all watching. Stay tuned, and we'll do some more of this weird stuff.